12 spine-chilling legends of Washington State, unveiling the sinister, cursed truths that haunt us. Sarah's heart raced as she drove through Maplewood one bleak evening, the headlights of her battered car slicing through the thickening fog. The stories of the Shadow Man reverberated ominously within her, tales whispered in hushed tones by coffee-sipping locals and eerily shared during slumber parties. The chilling legend spoke of a figure emerging from the shadows, and yet, with every mile, those whispers became a siren call she couldn't ignore. She pulled into her driveway, the familiar creaks of her home embracing her like an old friend, or perhaps a foe. She shivered at the thought of the stories. Urban legends had a way of creeping into the cracks of sanity, feeding on fears that festered in the dark. Grim tales of children disappearing into oblivion haunted her, and Mr. Lancaster, the friendly neighbor with an unsettling smile, loomed large in her thoughts. In her gut, she felt an icy tendril of dread curl tightly around her heart. That night, her exhaustion battled futilely against her curiosity. She sank into the worn cushions of her couch and powered up her laptop. The glow illuminated the room, casting elongated shadows that twisted like dark fingers. Articles about the missing children rolled down her screen, a parade of faces frozen in smiles, now lost to time. Each click of the mouse echoed in her ears. With every new tale, a palpable chill seeped into her bones. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening," she recited from a small video. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The clock ticked away unheeded as she read of the last sighting of Peter, age 10, who vanished on a rainy February day outside Maplewood High. How others had echoed his fate. Panic swelled where there had been relief. Were these connected to the Shadow Man or Mr. Lancaster? Weeks slipped by, with each passing hour marked by odd happenings. The kids would giggle, unaware of the chill that brushed past them, a bittersweet reminder of love turned to trepidation. Flickering lights sparked her innate fear into flame. Sarah could swear she heard the rustle of fabric behind her, the whisper of voices calling her name at night. She was but a shell, hollow and aching. Then came the night of the sleepover. Laughter erupted like fireworks, the walls absorbing the jubilation. As her friends left the house, the stillness returned, thick and suffocating. The moon hung like a silver pendant outside her daughter's window.
Cold sweat dotted her brow when she woke to find her daughter vanished, the empty bed a cavernous void that welcomed only dread. Her heart raced as she scoured the house, each whisper of wind outside a reminder that monsters don't always hide in darkness. She was gripped by horror as the silence deepened. Mr. Lancaster, the friendly neighbor, kept appearing in her mind, those innocent smiles now warped into something menacing. The awakening realization crashed through her. How could she trust the faces in her community when whispers of the Shadow Man grew louder with each passing day? Fueled by desperation, she dashed through Maplewood High's looming gates. As shadows flickered just out of sight, Sarah's breath quickened. Whatever she uncovered within those walls would reveal a truth far scarier than the legend she once dismissed. Would she find her daughter, or was it already too late? Frozen in place, Sarah's breath came in ragged gasps as she stepped through the heavy gates of Maplewood High. The school loomed before her, its brick facade jutting ominously against the night sky. Every instant screamed at her to turn back, to escape the grip of the shadows pooling around her. Yet she forced one foot in front of the other, consumed by a desperate determination to find her daughter. The hallway was dark, the flickering fluorescent lights casting a sickly pallor over everything. Posters of school events hung askew, like lost memories begging to be remembered. Sarah's fingers grazed the cold metal lockers as she edged forward, the sound of her footsteps swallowed by an eerie silence that felt alive. The air was thick, as if the walls themselves held their breath. With each step, the memories of the children whispered from the depths of her mind. They were lost. Every story she had read blurred into a kaleidoscope of fear. Were their spirits trapped here too? Her heart thudded in her chest, loud and mocking. She recalled the reports of laughter echoing down these very halls, only to be snuffed out as darkness enveloped them. The absence of sound now felt like a sinister warning. She reached the end of the hall, her fingers trembling as she grasped the handle of the gym door. The darkness beyond seemed hungry. With a deep breath, she pushed it open. The gym echoed her entrance, a vast empty space illuminated only by the moonlight filtering through the windows. Shadows clung to the corners, secrets hiding just out of sight. As she stepped inside, a loud bang erupted from the far side of the room. Fear surged, hot and consuming. "Hello?" she called, her voice echoing unnaturally. "Is anyone here?" Silence enveloped her again, thicker this time. Suddenly she caught a glimpse of movement, a flicker at the far end near the bleachers. Her heart thundered as she squinted, straining to catch sight of whatever had stirred. And then she saw it, for just a moment. A small figure darted behind the bleachers, dark clothing blending into the shadows.
"Is that you?" she called, her voice breaking. It had to be her daughter, or at the very least another lost child. Against her better judgment, she sprinted toward the figure. Each step felt like a challenge, an invitation for whatever lurked in the darkness to grasp her. As she neared the bleachers, the figure peeked out, eyes wide and glistening like two orbs of terror. Just as she reached out, the child vanished, a whisper of laughter echoing where they once stood. "Come back!" she shouted, panic clawing at her throat. The air shifted, the laughter fading into something darker, twisting around the edges of her sanity. Sarah hesitated, her mind racing. What if this was the Shadow Man's doing? What if her very presence lured her daughter closer to danger? A rustle behind her sent chills spiraling down her spine. She turned sharply, eyes wide, searching for the source. The bleachers creaked ominously, shadows dancing in a manner that made her skin crawl. This place was alive with dread, every corner an invitation to despair. Before she could react, a hand gripped her shoulder. She whipped around to find Mr. Lancaster standing there, his smile wider than ever, eyes gleaming in the dim light. "You're looking for someone, aren't you?" he said softly, almost too sweetly. Terror unfurled in her chest. "Where is my daughter?" His expression shifted, the genial facade slipping. "The truth lies deeper than you think." The world around her blurred. Sarah's worst fears began to crystallize, forced into her view with terrifying clarity. Underneath his charming exterior, how much darkness did Mr. Lancaster hide? The realization gripped her as she turned to run. Footsteps followed her, quickening, relentless. What had she gotten herself into? And as the shadows closed in, wrapping around her, she realized the real monster might not be the Shadow Man after all. Sarah bolted, heart crashing against her ribs like a desperate animal. The sound of her own frantic breaths mixed with the echo of Mr. Lancaster's voice, now a sinister whisper in her head. It played tricks, twisting her thoughts into a chaotic whirlpool of fear. The hallway stretched out before her, a twisting maze of darkness. She couldn't tell if the shadows were following her or if they were simply a part of the school's eerie fabric. Every locker she passed seemed to loom larger with menace, whispering secrets she was too terrified to hear. Each footfall was a countdown, pushing her closer to whatever fate awaited her. The fluorescent lights flickered again, an agonizing strobe that made her feel disoriented. She cast a wild glance over her shoulder, hoping against hope to see nothing chasing her. But there he was, Mr. Lancaster, his presence almost tangible in the thick air, was somehow unfazed by her panic. "Where are you going, Sarah?" His voice, smooth like honey, yet laced with poison, dripped with mock concern. She couldn't decipher if he was enjoying the chase or if he truly felt something for her. Did he know about the nightmares that plagued her? "Get away from me!" she shrieked, her voice cracking under the weight of terror. Her thoughts spiraled. She needed to escape, to find her daughter, to break free of the terrifying facade of this place. If only she could reach the exits. But the gym door seemed further away than ever, an unreachable haven in the sepulchre bloom. Her legs felt heavy as though they were trapped in quicksand. As she turned a corner, she suddenly collided into something solid. She stumbled back, heart racing, eyes widening. It was a windowless classroom, the door ajar, revealing a cold darkness inside. "Come in, Sarah," a voice beckoned softly from the abyss. It wasn't Mr. Lancaster nor the shadows. This voice was young, innocent. Her breath hitched. "Is that you?" she called out, hope igniting for a fleeting moment. The laughter echoed again, playful and inviting, sending prickles down her spine. Another flicker of movement caught her eye. This time a small figure, dressed in white, that darted through the crack of the door. She had to know, was it really her daughter? "Please, I need to find you," she begged, nudging the door open cautiously. Inside, the darkness swallowed her whole. "Come play," it called again, and this time it sounded less innocent, more like a taunt, luring her deeper into the shadows. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind her. She whirled around, panic clawing at her throat again. How? Was Mr. Lancaster playing with her mind, trapping her here? The room began to change. Walls flickered with shadows, twisting into monstrous shapes. The once familiar school seemed to pulse with a life of its own. The laughter intensified, morphing into a cacophony of voices, each one carrying hints of sorrow, regret, and fear. And then silence fell abruptly, like a curtain dropping in a theater. Sarah's heart raced louder than ever, echoing in the unnatural quiet. "What's happening?" she whispered to herself, feeling the walls closing in. A small figure appeared before her, eyes wide, filled with a terror equal to her own. "Help me." At that moment, she recognized it, the blank face, the small trembling frame. It was her daughter. But before Sarah could reach out, the world shifted again, plunging her into a void where darkness wrapped around her like a suffocating blanket. "You shouldn't have come here." The voice was no longer gentle, it surged with malice. As the shadows laughed around her, heartbeat dancing to an anxious rhythm, Sarah realized that the monster was here, and she had unwittingly stepped into a trap set long before she had arrived. The question echoed in her mind. After all this, would she be able to save her daughter, or would she lose herself in this nightmare forever? And in the darkness, the last sound she heard was Mr. Lancaster's chilling laughter, reverberating through the walls, reminding her of the true horror lurking behind every mask. The suffocating darkness wrapped around Sarah like a vice, crushing her resolve. Frantic, she groped at the air, searching for anything solid to hold on to, but the nothingness swallowed her screams. The laughter, once playful, morphed into something twisted and sinister, echoing around her like a warped choir of lost souls. Breathless, she spun back toward where her daughter had stood, but the figure was gone, swallowed by the shadows. Nausea clawed at her insides. She felt the walls pulse, and for a moment she could swear they were alive, breathing, watching. Panic surged through her veins, and she staggered forward. "Please," her voice echoed, but the emptiness seemed to swallow it. She thrust her hands against the wall, feeling its rough texture beneath her fingertips. The coldness was shocking, grounding. If she could just find a door, find a way out. Her fingers traced along the surface, searching for cracks or a way through. The sounds shifted. Footfalls that weren't her own echoed through the darkness, growing closer. She froze, breath hitching. The malevolence was unmistakable. It crawled under her skin. She was being hunted. "Sarah," the voice purred, now close enough to feel the chilling breath on the back of her neck. It dripped with satisfaction, reveling in her fear. "You wanted to find your daughter, but what if she doesn't want to be found?" She turned sharply, eyes darting wildly in the impenetrable dimness. There was no sign of Mr. Lancaster, but she felt him, the weight of his gaze, the anticipation of a predator stalking its prey. Her heart drummed loudly in her ears, drowning out the laughter that seemed to weave through the air. "Where are you?" she whispered, desperation weaving into her voice. Before she could think, she took a hesitant step toward the direction of the voice, a thread of hope pulling her forward. "Come to the light," it called. "It's safe. It's so very safe." No, she shook her head. The deceit thickened the air. The way the darkness whispered around her only made her more aware of the dangers lurking there. Every instinct screamed at her to resist, but from a distance the glimmer of light danced tantalizingly, drawing her in. Then a sharp, anguished cry pierced the silence. "Mommy!" Panic surged anew. It sounded like her daughter. "Hold on, I'm coming!" Sarah lunged forward, propelled by love and fear entwined. The light beckoned, but as she approached, it flickered ominously. Shadows writhed and twisted, forming grotesque shapes that seemed to reach for her, desperate to pull her back into the dark. She could hear her daughter's voice, pleading mixed with terror and anger. Why was she angry? "Get away from her!" Sarah shouted, spinning around, ready to confront whatever lay hidden. "What do you want?"
"Everything," the voice spoke from the shadows, a multitude of tones that resonated with deep malice. It echoed, overlapping, a symphony of despair. Life, hope, what you cherish most. Suddenly, the walls around her shifted again. With a jolt, Sarah was tilting sideways, as though the very ground beneath her was collapsing. She fell, tumbling backward into a black void, gasping. The laughter returned, but this time it sounded more frantic, more desperate. She struck the ground hard, breath knocked from her lungs. When she opened her eyes, she was in an unfamiliar corridor, drenched in that harsh fluorescent light. It hummed with a buzzing menace. The air was thick, and there, before her, lay a long, dark passageway, all too familiar. It wasn't a path, it was a mirror of the hall she had just fled. But this was different. She could feel it, a pulse of dread emanating from within. A flickering sign hung at the end of the corridor. "This way to your truth." Her heart dropped. She had a choice. But was the truth worth the risk? It took everything within her to lift her shaking legs. She could either embrace the horror or descend further into madness. In the depths of that tormented corridor, shadows flickered in anticipation, waiting for her to choose. With every step, the walls whispered, the air grew thick, and the question loomed larger. Would she find her daughter at the end of the path, or face the darkest truth of all? As she crept forward, shadows reaching out, she whispered a prayer to the darkness. What awaited her lay just beyond her grasp, shrouded in the unknown. Would she be ready to confront what lay at the end? The hallway stretched on, a sinister tunnel of flickering fluorescence, casting long shadows that danced as if alive. Each step Sarah took sent ripples of dread racing through her body. The whispering walls seemed to tighten around her, challenging her resolve. This way to your truth, the sign's words echoed in her mind, mocking her desperate quest. The light above buzzed, a shrill reminder of her isolation. Was she truly alone? The soft padding of footsteps crept up behind her. She turned, heart hammering, but saw only the fading glow of the corridor behind her. "Mommy," her daughter's voice came again, strained and raw. It rushed like a desperate plea through the air, making her blood run cold. "Mommy, please." Sarah pushed onward, urgency igniting her movements. The corridor twisted, and her surroundings warped, reality bending in unsettling ways. She could feel eyes, millions of them, watching from the shadows, waiting, their hunger palpable. "Turn back," a new voice slithered from the darkness. "Turn back now while you still can." Ignoring it, Sarah pressed against the wall, searching for some way out. Her fingers trembled as they brushed an icy patch on the surface. An exit? No, it was something else. With a sudden, sickening realization, she pulled away, gasping.
Embedded within the cold structure were murky images. Faces twisted in terror, mouths wide in silent screams, limbs reaching towards her in agony. Each face bore fleeting glimpses of familiarity. Friends, family, even a disturbing echo of herself. "Oh, God," she breathed, pulling her hands back. She wanted to look away. She turned to flee, but the passageway warped again. The walls constricted, a ripple of darkness threatening to engulf her whole. "Mommy, help me!" Her daughter's voice cut through Sarah's swirling thoughts. The sound pushed her forward, a powerful thread reeling her in. But somewhere deep inside, a warning flared. Could she truly reach her? Or was this another trap, another horrific illusion crafted to keep her wandering in endless darkness? "Mommy!" Her daughter's voice cut through Sarah's swirling thoughts. The sound pushed her forward, a powerful thread reeling her in. But somewhere deep inside, a warning flared. Could she truly reach her? Or was this another trap, another horrific illusion crafted to keep her wandering in endless darkness? The corridor branched into two, one path dimmer than the other. The brighter passage was almost blinding, unbearably bright, yet almost welcoming. The other, cloaked in shadow, was more familiar. Both paths exuded a different kind of fear. "Choose," said the overlapping voices, with a sinister glee that resonated through the air. "Choose wisely, for both roads lead to your truth, but only one leads to her salvation." Every fiber in her being screamed at her to believe the light, to run toward the hope it promised. But the darkness, there was something instinctual in its embrace, an unsettling draw that hinted at the secrets locked within. "Mommy!" The voice thinned, cracking with terror.
Sarah's heart pounded as she stood, trembling on the threshold of decision. Would she dare step into the blinding light that whispered promises of safety? Or retreat into the dark, where the rings of danger pulsed, ready to reveal untold horrors? Her breath hitched, each choice heavy with consequence, as the faint echoes of sinister laughter climbed into a frenzy, almost joyous in the anticipation of her impending doom. In that moment of crushing uncertainty, she heard her daughter again, the bond between them shimmering in the dark. "I need you, Mommy!" With that cry echoing in her ears, she knew she had to decide. What awaited her on either side? And would the truth they uncover unite them or tear them apart forever? With a surge of determination, she closed her eyes, willing her heart to guide her forward. Sarah hesitated, her heartbeat a frantic drum, each pulse echoing loudly in the silence around her. The dark path pulsed like a living thing, beckoning with invisible fingers, while the bright path burned her retinas, promising the unbearable thrill of safety. Terror twisted inside her chest. She felt trapped between two monstrous choices, each whispering her name. Then she took a step forward, drawn toward the shadows. It felt wrong, terrifying, yet there was something familiar that lured her in. The laughter grew louder, more raucous, like a thunderstorm brewing. Her instincts screamed at her to turn back, but her daughter's wail pierced through the cacophony, urging her forward. "Mommy!" It wasn't just a voice, it was a promise, a lifeline. Clenching her fists, Sarah moved deeper into the darkness. The shadows pushed against her, almost suffocating. The air thickened with dread, and every instinct threatened to send her running back, but she pressed on. As Sarah ventured further, the darkness began to shift. The walls seemed to breathe in rhythm with her pulse. She could almost hear the walls whispering secrets, taunting her. "You shouldn't be here. You can't handle the truth." The corridor narrowed, and she could feel cold tendrils brushing against her skin, snaking around her like chains. Her breath came in sharp gasps as shadows clawed at her, and from the depths emerged grotesque images, swirling in the darkness, a horrific preview of her worst fears. She struggled against the phantoms, unwilling to let them consume her. "Mommy!" That voice again. It brought her back to the surface. It was urgent, desperate. She felt her resolve harden. "I'm coming!" she shouted into the suffocating darkness, her voice nearly lost amidst the mockery. Then she saw something ahead, a flicker of light peeking through the endless black. Heart pounding, she stumbled forward. The sound of dripping water echoed eerily all around her, as if the walls wept, mourning what happened to those who had come before. As she neared the light, the figure of a child began to take shape. "Mommy!" The little girl's face appeared, tear-streaked and terrified, but there was something unsettling about the way she stood, as if she were held captive from the light. Sarah's stomach knotted. This wasn't her daughter fully. This was a shadow, a reflection of what she longed for but could not touch, something twisted by this horrid reality. "Help me!" the apparition cried, the voice a haunting echo of innocence. "Please, I need you!" It reached out a trembling hand, but the moment her fingers brushed the light, it flared fiercely, blinding her. "Don't touch it!" a rough voice shouted from behind her. A figure emerged from the darkness, a gaunt man with wild hair and frantic eyes. "It's a trap! Don't be fooled! This place feeds on hopes and fears!" Sarah froze. The man's desperation mirrored her own, yet something deep inside her pulsed with cautious skepticism. Was he truly warning her, or was this yet another deception? The figure of her daughter flickered, the light dimming. "Mommy, please!" Chaos erupted, the walls trembled, shadows warred, and laughter turned into shrieks. Sarah stood at the precipice of despair, her heart thrumming wildly as darkness crept ever closer, threatening to swallow them all. "Choose, Sarah," the man's voice beckoned, desperation laced within. "What is more real, the light or the dark? What will you sacrifice to save her?" She looked back at the specter of her daughter, the familiar shape now twisted and writhing in agony. Should she fight for the light or confront the dark truth that might save them both? "You're not alone!" he shouted, reaching for her. "We must resist together!" With renewed strength, Sarah grabbed his hand, the icy tendrils that had been around her tightening their grasp but faltering for the first time. Yet their unity felt weak, as if the mere act of holding on to one another was a flickering candle in a storm. Suddenly, the apparition of her daughter began to dissolve, twisting back like smoke in the wind. "Help me!" it sobbed, the shadows clawing at it, pulling it beneath a torrent of despair. "Let her go!" Sarah screamed, feeling the rage surge inside her. The laughter twisted into agonized cries, mocking her desperate plea, filling her with a fierceness she didn't know could exist. "I won't lose you! Not to this!" A blinding flash erupted around them, forcing the shadows back just enough for Sarah to see the truth. It wasn't just a trick, it was a challenge. The darkness offered a route, an escape filled with power, with revelations that could consume anything or anyone. Could deep knowledge be the very key to saving her child? Sarah's heart raced, fueled by the echoes of haunting potential stretching before her. "What do I need to sacrifice?" she whispered, wrestling with the venomous curiosity nestled in her chest. Was she ready to sift through that knowledge, confronting her deepest fears for the sake of her child? As chills crept along her spine, a chilling whisper slithered from the shadows, wrapping around her mind. Every truth demands a sacrifice. With dread pooling in her stomach, Sarah realized she was right on the brink. Will you dare to learn the darkest secrets in exchange for hope? As waves of darkness swelled around them, Sarah understood this was the pivotal moment. The balance of her heart hung in the shadows, the promise of her daughter's existence teetering at the edge of fate. Would she grasp that glimmer of knowledge or let herself be pulled into the abyss? Time churned ominously, the answer stretching like a darkened fog, ready to engulf everything in its path. The shadows pulsed around Sarah, creeping closer as if alive, hungry for her fear. She could almost taste their cold, bitter presence wrapping around her like a shroud. Her heart hammered wildly in her chest, threatening to burst as she stood suspended in the moment. The light before her flickered, a flickering heartbeat pulsing in rhythm with her own. "Mommy!" The voice was clearer now, echoing through the abyss, desperation clawing at her insides. Sarah shivered, every instinct screaming for her to run, but the thought of abandoning her child, of leaving her to the darkness, steeled her resolve. "Knowledge," she whispered, her breath trembling. "What do I have to know?" The darkness writhed, responding to her question with a chorus of ghastly whispers. "Every truth demands a sacrifice." The words echoed from everywhere and nowhere, mouthless and menacing. Each syllable hung in the air like a heavy weight, pressing on her chest. The shadows pulsed around Sarah, creeping closer, as if alive, hungry for her fear. She could almost taste their cold, bitter presence wrapping around her like a shroud. Her heart hammered wildly in her chest, threatening to burst as she stood suspended in the moment. The light before her flickered, a flickering heartbeat pulsing in rhythm with her own. "Mommy!" The voice was clearer now, echoing through the abyss, desperation clawing at her insides. Sarah shivered, every instinct screaming for her to run, but the thought of abandoning her child, of leaving her to the darkness, steeled her resolve. "Knowledge," she whispered, her breath trembling. "What do I have to know?" The darkness writhed, responding to her question with a chorus of ghastly whispers. "Every truth demands a sacrifice." The words echoed from everywhere and nowhere, mouthless and menacing. Each syllable hung in the air like a heavy weight, pressing on her chest.
No! She shook her head, determination igniting. I'll do it. I'll defy you. Then step into the truth, the shadows hissed, twisting and coiling around her ankles like snakes. Your grief motivates you. Let it open the door. Taking a deep breath, Sarah felt the gaunt man's grip on her hand squeeze tighter, grounding her. Together now, we can face this, he urged, his eyes ablaze with a flicker of hope amidst the encroaching blackness. As if her decision had initiated a frantic reaction, the ethereal glow from the light dimmed further, revealing a passage splitting off into an even deeper darkness. Cold suffocated the air, bringing with it memories of the darkest regrets and fears. It beckoned with an insidious allure, whispering terrible promises. Go to her, the gaunt man urged. You must embrace your pain to find her. With each step she took toward the darkness, the shadows convulsed, the whispers amplifying into a shrill cacophony. Face the grief, face the loss. Every loss is a truth you have to own. In that moment, Sarah understood. She had spent too long avoiding the depths of her sorrow. Now she had to confront it. What had her daughter meant to her? What sacrifices had she cherished in life? "Mommy!" That cry cut through her like a knife, smashing through her defenses. The shadows twisted around the gaunt man, who struggled to maintain his grip as darkness clawed at them both. "Don't let go," he sputtered, his voice cracking under the weight of the shadow's grasp. "I won't," she shouted, forcing herself deeper into the abyss, where the air grew heavy with dread. Fear echoed in her mind. The anguish of losing a child felt like a fever dream come to life. With desperate fervor, Sarah stumbled into a slick chamber, the cold, damp earth beneath her grounding her. The shadows shrank back, revealing a haunting sight. Her daughter's essence suspended in the tendrils of darkness. Tears streamed down Sarah's face. "Hold on, I'm almost there." But still, she felt a slice of cold terror that urged her backward. The gaunt man's eyes widened in horror, and she could hear the whispers shift, rising and falling like a tide. "You don't have to do this." "Every truth demands a sacrifice." The echo returned, relentless. Would she give up her memories, her sanity, for the chance to take her daughter back? Would she be the next whisper in this shadowy realm? "Mommy!" The faint voice shattered through her thoughts again. The grip of darkness tore at her. She could feel the memories of joy clashing with the shadows of loss. "Just tell me," Sarah's voice shattered, desperation flooding her. "What must I give?" Something precious. The twisted faces of lost souls appeared, their mouths curled in sinister grins. "The darkness feeds on what you love most." A loud crash resonated nearby, and the shadows swarmed closer, their whispers morphing into howls of torment. Time teetered, thrumming with her frantic heartbeat. "Mommy!" The whisper was softer now, more desperate than before. Time fractured, stretching infinitely, and the whispers swirled around her, growing louder, their words crashing into her like waves of dark water. Each moment swallowed her deeper into chaos, and through it she felt something snap. Enough! She raised her hand, as if physically pushing back against the tide. I won't choose one over the other. You can't force me. The gaunt man leaned forward, his expression a mix of awe and fear. You must decide, sacrifice something, or you risk losing both. As the shadows raged, the light flickered anew, casting an otherworldly glow around Sarah. She gritted her teeth, her resolve hardening. If this darkness thrives on sacrifice, then she would give it something it had not anticipated. Something that was not tied to love, but to the anger and sorrow that had corroded her spirit. Take my pain, she shouted into the void, tears streaming down her face. Take my grief, take everything that haunts me, but do not take her. The shadows shrieked in agony, twisting violently, as though her words had pierced them. The gaunt man stumbled backward, horror etched onto his face. What have you done? He gasped. The flashes of light intensified, blinding her momentarily. She felt lighter, yet there was also a loss deep within. The darkness writhed. She had unwittingly become a beacon, and in her heart, a hollow space had begun to churn, knowing she had sacrificed a part of herself. Mommy! Her daughter's voice was clearer now, threaded through the chaos like a thread pulling her from the brink. Yet, just as she reached for her, the shadow shot toward Sarah with a vengeful fury. You could have saved yourself, they hissed, retreating briefly, then encircling tighter. Crippling dread unfurled within her, looming larger than ever. What have I unleashed? She whispered to herself, recoiling as shadows clawed at her very essence, hungry for the loss she had just bestowed. The air grew electric, charged with the weight of her sacrifice, as the realm shifted ominously around her. Mommy! Could a fragment of grief truly outmatch an entire soul? Would her decision echo through eternity? Before her confusion spiraled into something beyond comprehension, the darkness pulsed wildly, reaching for her daughter, the faint essence now flickering out. No! The cry escaped her lips, filled with raw terror. But as shadows closed in for the final strike, she realized that the darkness didn't just threaten her daughter. It sought something far worse. What loomed ahead filled her with dread, and as the shadow-laden storm gathered strength, she could only wonder what lingered beyond the fray. Could something more sinister still arise from her empathy? The price of hope wasn't just her pain. It was about to become so much more. The shadows roared, a tempest building around Sarah as she faced the dark storm swirling in. Her heart thundered in her chest, and every instinct told her to flee. But behind that fear, a new resolve flared. It was fueled by a mother's love and the desperate need to save her daughter. Mommy, help me! The plea rang in the darkness, echoing like a bell that urged her forward. Sarah clung to the flicker of hope, spurred by the innocence of the small voice she had fought so hard to protect. As shadows spiraled tighter, absorbing all light, she could feel the weight of her sacrifice, a hollow ache in her chest. I gave you my pain, she shouted, voice trembling with fierce determination. I will not let you take what is left. With those words, the vortex around her paused, as if it hesitated before a powerful storm. And in that brief stillness, Sarah surged ahead, bolstered by a newfound strength born from the depths of her love. Where are you? She called, desperately searching for her daughter. The flickering light still beckoned. It was a fragile beacon pushing against the dark. And then she saw it, a shimmering form held captive by the shadows, her daughter's silhouette glimmering in the chaos.
Stay with me, I'm coming. But as she approached, the darkness twisted violently, its claws reaching for both of them, hungry to consume everything they held dear. Sarah could feel the cold tendrils snaking around her ankles, grasping, trying to pull her back into despair. "Not again!" she cried. With every ounce of strength left in her, she broke through the barriers, lifting her arms wide. If she had sacrificed her sorrow, then she could fight this darkness with love unyielding. "I choose to fight for my daughter," she proclaimed, the words vibrating in the suffocating air. A sudden surge of warmth cascaded over her, illuminating the path. The shadows recoiled, as if burned by an invisible fire, screeching in anger as the bright light enveloped them both. Sarah pressed forward, feeling her daughter's essence pulling closer, light intertwining through darkness. "Mommy!" The call was hopeful, a flickering promise that propelled her forward. With every step, the darkness thinned, wilting under the force of her fight, a massive wave edging away as if pushed by something beyond her. And there, shining in the dark, was her daughter, face streaked with innocence and fear. "I'm here!" she shouted, reaching out, fingers stretching as the tendrils of darkness evaporated before her eyes. The moment their fingers grazed, warmth flowed through Sarah. The bond they shared shattered the oppressive darkness, spiraling it away in brilliant arcs of light. Her daughter clung on tightly, her body filling the empty cavity where anguish had resided. "Let's go home!" she cried, and Sarah nodded with gratitude and love, elation dazzling in her bones. But before they could escape, dark tendrils lashed out once more, panic surging anew. "You can't leave!" a voice bellowed from the tumult, that same sinister whisper.
The darkness nearly lunged for them, animating as if alive, intent on one final act of desperation. Facing this head-on, Sarah turned to her daughter. "Hold my hand and don't let go. We are stronger together." With one powerful pull, they broke free of the shadow's grasp, stepping into the storm of light that spilled forth from their entwined hands. The darkness screamed as it writhed, reeling from the sudden surge of love that pushed against it. Around them, the world transformed. The gymnasium walls melted away, revealing the haunting sights of lost children blinking into existence. They were free, released from their shadowy prison. The haunting echo of Mr. Lancaster's sinister laughter faded, replaced by warmth, laughter blossoming where only despair had existed moments ago. Sarah spun around, hugging her daughter close. "You're safe, you are safe." But she knew something deep within her would always carry the loss of the memories she sacrificed. The shadows may have receded, but their imprint lingered in the depths of her heart. "Will we be okay, Mommy?" her daughter asked, gazing up at her with wide, trusting eyes. "Yes," Sarah whispered, blinking back tears that shimmered like jewels in the light. "We will build new memories, together." As they walked out of the gym hand in hand, the air felt lighter, drawing them toward home. The scars of the past would remain, but the love they forged would guide them into a future shimmering with hope, a radiant victory over the shadows. And in that moment, Sarah felt whole once more, knowing they would face whatever lay ahead together. But her heart raced with a secret hope. The legends might fade in Maplewood, but within her, the true monster had been defeated, the darkness of fear, and a new chapter was just beginning. It is time for you to dive deeper into this world of haunting tales and shadows. Subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next thrilling story that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help elevate these uncanny narratives. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about this phenomenal conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this gripping conclusion. Only true fans can show their support in actions and words.